Hey guys, today we are driving a Mark 8 GTI. However, this is Kyle's Mark 8 GTI, and you've slightly modified this.
A little bit.
We've got a 93 tune, some lighter weight wheels, and stickier tires on here.
Absolutely.
And this is your daily driver / family car.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah.
I have another primary family, but I can fit all four in here.
Cool, that's great. I mean, that's kind of what the GTI is for.
I
to do all things.
I took the baby seat out for this.
Yeah.
There's normally my 3-year-old sits there. So.
Cool, and you're 6'4", and everyone fits behind you.
It's a little snug behind me.
Okay.
But yes, everybody can fit.
Fantastic. This is the GTI S, which means it has the smaller infotainment screen, which I've actually never seen. It is better because it has a volume knob.
My only thing is that, look, it twists the whole power thing, and I'm a little OCD, so, like, it's got to be straight up.
I used to do the exact same thing on my GTI. I'd adjust it here and then change it on the steering wheel so it would be all the way up. So what's this, tune scroll?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I've never honestly, look at that. It actually does that.
For
I mean,
CarPlay
it's full, it's full touchscreen, but yeah, I've honestly never used this knob. The existence is nice, but I think the biggest thing is there's none of the buttons down here.
Yeah, so to get to your climate control, you have to hit climate, and then you can adjust from there.
I don't know if this is more responsive than the bigger one. I never used the bigger one.
Oh my gosh, it is.
I've never had an issue whatsoever.
It is more responsive. This is quicker.
Feels great.
This is fine. Usually that's the case with smaller screens.
Well,
and you have Android Auto too.
Well, and the thing is, so actually this is my wireless adapter. So this comes standard with Android Auto, on all trims, it's built in, and then I have a little wireless adapter.
Oh yeah, those are great.
Yep. So
they're like $30-40 on Amazon, and they're working in
100%.
every car. You have some neat little inserts here. Is that aftermarket?
This was when I got the tune from the website. They also had this. It's a little 3D printed guy.
That's great.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. Wireless charging down here.
Absolutely. Yep, that's standard wireless charging on all trim levels.
And you've got an aftermarket shift knob.
Yes, sir.
A little bit heavier weighted.
250 grams.
That feels good. I like it. Nice. Still got a reverse cam. Absolutely. That's all you need.
Yep.
GTIS might be the move.
And for me personally, 6'4", I needed this.
Yeah, you don't need a sunroof at 6'4".
No, you lose 1.5 to 2 inches. Me personally, as a car guy who is 6'4" with some hair too, finding something that fits me is rare, and this is perfect. I never touch the ceiling. Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts.
Good, that's great. And if you ever track this, you put a helmet on, you're all set. And this has the plaid seats, which this is kind of the same spec as my Mark 6 GTI, which I loved. I love the car.
They look good.
Let's walk you guys around it. What's this painted in?
Moonstone gray.
Moonstone gray. Yeah, the plaid seats are the way to go. So cool. Some nice suede inserts here. And you've got a matching suede bit on the shift knob here too. Car's going to complain a little bit that the key is not inside, but that's okay. And you have OZ Allegeritas. All right. What do these weigh per corner?
19.5.
Wow. Okay, so you're saving about 5 pounds per corner. That's great.
Sir.
Awesome.
Totally changed the car. The ride's better. I went down in size. The stock was 18. I went to a 17 by 7.5.
Fantastic.
It fits the brake perfectly, which I love.
Oh yeah, that's really nice.
Perfect.
Cool.
And it rides better.
I bet.
I did some research online, and anybody who lives in a state like Michigan, Massachusetts, anybody with bad roads, it's like, just go to the 17.
This is exactly what I would do with this car. And the wheels look great on the gray.
Yeah, thank you. No, I'm a huge fan. They're flow forms, so they weren't too expensive.
Yep.
And they're just fantastic.
Great, and great tire too. I haven't driven on the Continental Sport 02s.
Wanted to save a little money over the 4Ss. I know everybody, the gold standard's the 4Ss.
I prefer the Continentals by a wide margin, just because the Michelins, they're so loud.
That's what I've heard. These, I mean, you get some road noise, but part of it is economy car, things like that. But over the stock Pirellis, though, it's night and day. Quieter, smoother, way more traction.
There have never been a good set of stock tires on the GTI. They're always terrible.
Yeah, they were.
And they take forever to wear out, so you never really need to replace them.
They're in my garage. They're going to be my winters. These are going to be 3-season summers, and then if I drive in the winter, it's going to be the stock. Cool.
Looks great. So you've got a 93 tune. Any other modifications to exhaust or intake or anything?
Not yet. This is stock exhaust. It's a drop-in air filter on the intake.
Okay.
The shift knob, and then other than that, I have an OBD11 scan tool.
Oh, nice.
And I've done a little bit of programming in there.
Aha, cool.
I don't know if you noticed, the gauge cluster is not on a GTI, the one that's in there. That's a Golf R cluster.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, that's
but
right.
It says GTI. You can program the whole thing. So it still says GTI, but I have the Golf R,
it still has the software. Cool.
Yep.
I like that. Very nice. Let's
other
take a
than
look.
that, you know, I got a couple plans, but other than that, it's stock.
Yeah, you gotta love the packaging in the GTI. Good amount of space inside, good headroom, room for the whole family.
Size.
That's right. Yes. We pop the trunk with the reverse camera. Let's see
the
here.
Reverse camera's on.
Yeah, let's turn that off.
The cool pop-out reverse camera, which is honestly awesome.
It looks great. It's super cool. Let's see if it pops back in for us here.
Yeah, it should pop back in.
There we go.
Now we can open.
We get to see it in action. That's kind of a rare sight. Ooh, nice carpet.
Yeah, this I think was installed by the dealership, but it actually has some little plastic things you can stick on to keep stuff from moving.
I had those on my GTI and they were great.
I like it.
Compact spare tire, love to see it. Oh yeah, there's your little cargo.
Oh, yep, I put them under there, that's right.
I actually held on to those and used them in a couple other cars after I sold my GTI.
Well, I kind of figured no matter what, you know, down the road if I go to sell it, I think it's cool to have all the stuff with it.
Yeah.
I still got the window sticker, all the stuff, you know. I think it's cool.
Great.
Has your handles that you like in there to pull down.
Yep, that's always fantastic. Let's go drive it.
Absolutely. So as far as exhaust goes, the tune, it's on sport. It's definitely a burble tune, but we can turn it off if you want to.
Okay.
If you'd rather start. I don't know if it'll do it. I don't think it does it while sitting, but yeah, when you're driving, even if you're cruising along on the freeway and you let off, you'll get a little pop, pop, pop.
Okay.
Like that, so
fun, cool.
Yeah.
Parking brake, first gear. Nice. Yeah, I'm
actually,
excited.
when we get back, I forgot to show you the other important thing that I did with the coating, which is I turn the fog lights on all the time.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Because everybody's like, "Oh, these are really cool fog lights. If only they automatically turned on." You can do that on the software. Not in here. I did it with my scan tool, but they're on all the time.
I always thought that was cool how many things you can go in and program and tweak with VACCOM and stuff in Volkswagen Audi products.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I did a little bit of that with my GTI back in 2010. I disabled the steering angle sensor so I could turn it off for track work and have stability control completely off, and a couple other things with lights. And
that does remind me. The other thing is I disabled sound actor. There's zero sound.
Okay, nice.
No.
Yeah, that was a neat feature kind of in the mid-teens, 20-teens, and then in some of the newer cars, it just doesn't sound as good.
It was fine at lower RPMs, but at higher RPMs, it was so droney, it would hurt my ears.
Yes,
I have very sensitive hearing, and if I revved it out to, 6.5, it caused like a ringing. So sound actor's totally off.
Yep, that's good.
Get a tiny bit of intake noise with the drop-in air filter, but not a lot.
Yeah, once we get off this bumpy, rough road, we'll be able to hear all this stuff.
It's not that bad, though, honestly.
Yeah, it feels great.
If I was on the stock tires, this would be very jarring.
Yep. No, this feels a lot more nimble and just lighter on its feet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, seriously, when I did the wheels and tires, it transformed the car entirely. It woke everything up. Now, if you want to let it go in first gear and give it some beans, we're probably going to want traction off. It will cut power almost instantly.
Okay.
These tires will break loose at the top of second.
Do you have your swipe down menu?
So it's like this. It's actually this. ECS, and then we can go sport or off.
Let's just do full off, might as well.
Yeah, no,
cool.
If you're trying to do any kind of fun driving, it's going to be better.
Great, so that is instead of the swipe down menu.
Yes.
Or you can do it
it's
in addition
the same,
to
actually.
It's the same, okay.
This also gets you your nighttime.
Okay,
really
nice.
quick.
Oh, good. All right, let's see how these Continentals feel. Nice and grippy. Yeah, this is great. We're not even complaining here at 62 miles an hour. Oh, yeah. Properly quick GTI, Kyle.
I have not tracked it yet. I hope to someday. But yeah, the brakes are fantastic. Sixth gear, one of the things I love is sixth gear will take you from 40 miles an hour to whatever top speed is.
Sure. Yeah, you don't need a downshift. This has plenty of torque.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
Less turbo lag in this than in the Golf R.
Yeah.
A little bit more responsive, yep.
Yeah, the turbo pulls all the way too. From 2,500 to 3,000 all the way to redline, the turbo is good to go.
Cool. I see you're getting over 30 miles to the gallon on this.
Absolutely.
What are you getting per tank? About 400 miles?
Yeah. No, I guess, yeah, it's saying 400. If you're just cruising around on the freeway, you'll get mid-30s. I took some back roads on the way here, so.
Yeah, nice and responsive. Woo! It's quick. It sneaks up on you.
The tune, I haven't dynoed, but the tune says it's good for over 300.
Wow. Yeah, it feels it.
The 0.4, the Evo 4, the AAA 0.4 has a lot of overhead.
It does.
And I mean, honestly, there's more mods I can do. I think I can get close to 400 on stock injectors.
Wow.
If I did intake downpipe, which personally, you know, I'm not a downpipe guy. I'm just going to keep stock cats.
How are the stock clutches on these Mark 8 GTIs? Because I know that's always been the weak point with the tune.
So this, specifically with my tune, is a low torque tune. They have the DSG tune, which is closer to about 350 to 370 torque. This is probably about 330 is what they say it's good for.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
So they do it to save the clutch. If you, yeah, I've got the clutch a little warm a couple times.
Sure.
And you know, doing any first gear dumps, anything like that, the clutch does not love it, but it doesn't get a lot of slippage. It gets a little warm though, and you can smell it, and then I obviously back off.
Sure.
But you know, with this low torque tune especially, you know, the times you'll really feel it is if you
just rolled right through that one.
Okay.
This is a weird light here. It's kind of a strange situation.
If you put it in first, you rev out first and you dump it into second, you'll probably get some clutch slip, and there's no delay valve or anything like that. So.
All right. Yeah, this is such a nicely sized car too. Everything has gotten so much bigger, even compared to my Civic Type R, which is huge now.
I know it's not much these days, but this is 3,200-ish pounds, which you know, in the world of S2000s and stuff is heavy, but in a modern day four-door car, that's incredibly light.
Yeah, it's nice that they've kept the GTI small, relatively lightweight. I mean, this ultimately isn't that different from my Mark 6 in terms of size and packaging, but it's got more power, it's got better brakes, they've refined the suspension a little bit. This is nice, this drives awesome.
I'm a fan.
I've always thought the GTI just needs a little bit of finessing from the factory, because I honestly haven't really been that impressed with the Mark 8 GTIs from, you know, stock.
Yes.
And lighter wheels, stickier tires, a tune, that's kind of the standard operation for any GTI enthusiast.
Honestly, even without the tune, it was still fantastic. I just, you know, southeastern Michigan, we don't get a lot of curvies.
Sure.
You know, and so I wanted a little more straight line punch.
You gotta do something between stop signs.
Exactly. And this is actually standard heated seats on the base model, standard adaptive cruise on the manual on the base. Blind spot monitoring, the adaptive is fantastic.
Yeah, Volkswagen's
adaptive
system
cruise
here is great.
on a manual standard. I was like,
we got
at the time,
turn traction on here.
At the time, you couldn't even get adaptive in the WRX. I know they're coming out with it in the manual now, but you know, when I bought this in 2022, I think it was the only manual on the market with adaptive.
That's right. Yeah, and it will. You can change gear. It'll maintain speed.
It'll. In traffic, you can just downshift, and it'll just keep maintaining speed for you. It lets off when you clutch in, and then when you're off the clutch, it just gently back on the gas for you.
That's great. Not a lot of tire noise. These are definitely quieter than what the Michelin's would be.
And the Pirellis.
Yep, and the Pirellis.
They were loud, they were bouncy. The biggest complaint I have is when we get the undulations, you know, it'll... I think that's more suspension than anything.
Sure.
You know, it's a little bit more sporty. I have, you know, no DCC on this. You don't get that until the top trim.
Okay.
The Autobahn, which was $10,000 more.
I mean, that's fine. You know, honestly, most of the time, you're probably just leaving it in a comfort setting. And I'd rather have one suspension setup that works well all the time than, you know, an adaptive damper setup that's compromised in some tuning scenarios. And I've always preferred passive dampers anyway. I think they're just better.
This is really good, yeah. And yeah, I definitely. I mean, I've had some issues. You know, anybody who buys the first year. This was the first year the Mark 8 came out. The steering wheel shared with the Tiguan, and they both had issues. I think with the controller. I think anybody with like a 2022 Volkswagen was getting some issues where it would keep alarming that the Ford Collision Assistance was disabled, and it would be. I got a new steering wheel. It did take a little bit, but that cleared up. And
okay.
I mean, that's been the only real thing. There's, you know, a recall for, I can get, you know, the engine cover. When these first came out, the engine cover was taken off. I can go get one, but it's the cheap plastic one, you know.
Oh, that's so healthy on the tune.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So haven't dynoed it. It's somewhere north of 300.
Okay. Yeah, that feels about right. We just had a Mustang EcoBoost, which makes 315, 350. And
I hear they're all bottoming though.
Feels about like that. Yeah, they kind of fall off. The red line on that was about 700 RPM.
Yeah, this is 6,500 and it pulls all the way to 65.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, you hear a little bit of a faint blowout valve
just
there.
Tiny.
And
this feels. Surprised we're not getting burbles. Let me cheat it a little bit. We'll go back to comfort. I think when it starts in sport, it doesn't do it. So we're gonna go to sport, and we should get some more burbles. So normally it's pretty aggressive.
We're absolutely just hammering your fuel economy, but that's okay.
That's fine.
That's what today was for.
Oh yeah. That's short term anyways, so that's just it resets I think once a day or something.
Oh, okay, so that's just your drive out.
It says since start, but that has my stuff on there too. And if you want to put something else up, you know, there's all kinds of things you can put in there. You got
that
the
is
G
nice. You've
meter,
got a whole bunch of different. You got gear display. Do that. Tells you what gear to be in.
No matter what, it tells you on the Eco what gear you should be in. You can't turn it off.
That's right. Oh yeah, kilowatts, performance. G meter, there it is. Nice.
Oh yeah, we pulled some some good ones.
10 PSI. That's always nice to play with. Yeah, this Golf R gauge cluster is neat.
I like it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people do like the more traditional one, you know, which this had. So I got to pick between the Golf R or the one where it just puts the tack in the center.
Okay. You can change those all right here too.
Yeah, so I went with the Golf R one. I mean, I can just hook up my scan tool at any time and switch it back to the GTI one if I want. But it's cool because you even get to pick what logo you put in there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I could put it as Golf R. I don't know why I'd want to. I'd be lying to myself.
Steering feels nice on these Continentals too. I mean, these have a little bit stiffer sidewalls than the OEM tires, and that 225 width. So
you see traction control yelling at you.
Not too intrusive, but yeah, it's definitely it wasn't happening. In the real world, this is properly quick.
Yes.
It gets the job done. And the 6-speed is so smooth too.
Especially like the weighted, when the stock, mine actually broke. A lot of people had that stock shifter brake. It's cheap plastic. I mean, everybody knows they went with cost cutting in the Mark 8s, and I know that's the big complaint. I guess my perspective is pretty much every car at this point, you know, maybe the Civic is a little nicer on the interior, but you know, the WRX is a lot of cheap plastics, and you know, everybody kind of on the entry level sports car went kind of cheap, and it's like, all right, well, I can get this. I think I got it for $32,500 maybe.
Okay.
You know, for 32 grand, it was one of the cheapest, you know, cars like this on the market, and with a couple modifications, you know, it was fantastic.
That's it. That's all it takes. And then you're probably in there, and you know, a little bit less than some of the higher models. There's some pops and purples there. Nice. We might pass this truck here.
Yep, it's got passing.
Because we can.
Second gear tops out at over 60.
Yeah.
Believe it. Third tops out at over 90.
Yeah, we do have slightly taller gearing.
Yes.
I think that started in the Mark 7. I remember in my Mark 6, I used to be able to cruise on the highway at 3,000 RPM, 70 miles an hour. And the Mark 7, that was about 2,300 or so.
Okay. Yeah, this, if you're cruising around 70 to 80, you're going to be at over 3.
Yeah.
But, you know, it still sips on fuel. You know, and I don't know if it's Autobahn tuning for top speed. I know there's the California
Probably fuel
noise.
economy.
There's fuel economy.
Yeah.
You know.
I remember reading once that the DI motors in these Volkswagens are a little bit better at reducing carbon buildup at higher RPMs and more heat. And that was kind of originally why they had the shorter gearing. But, oh yeah, cutting power there. But I'm sure as long as you're driving this as it was intended, you don't really have to worry about a whole lot. This is fun. Yeah, I like the steering. It weights up really nicely on these Continentals with just a little bit more responsiveness, and the traction's fantastic. I always say Continental's summer tires are just some of the best daily driver summer performance tires. They're not too hardcore. They're not picking up tons of rocks and stones. They're maybe not a good option for heavy track use. They just don't hold up to the abuse and the heat. But for everything else, they're fantastic, and they're quiet and they're comfortable. And
I was watching, I believe Gears and Gasoline, I want to say, they, on one of their race cars, their Hondas, they use these for their wet tires.
yeah, that's right. They're awesome wet.
Awesome
wet performance.
So they use the, you know, extreme performance, you know, no wet for you know, the main dry tire, and then they use these for their wet tires. These do perform, you know, in the wet, they do great. You know, for daily, they're great, and you know, they might not be the best track tire, but especially for me, I haven't tracked it yet. I want to, but
if you're doing less than a few track days,
Yeah.
you know, if you're doing 2 or 3 track days a
Yep.
year, these are awesome.
Yep.
They're fantastic. That's all you need.
Yep.
Yep. It's amazing how much of a difference downsizing wheels from 18s to 17s. 17-inch wheels are kind of the perfect size for most modern vehicles in this category, in this size, you know, in this class. It's just kind of that perfect balance between sidewall and, you know, you get a little tire stretch on there on these 225s. It's great. Looks good. It drives really well.
fits the brakes perfect, which I'm a big fan.
Yes, that's right.
I don't like huge wheels with tiny brakes.
Yeah.
Every time I see the new, you know, GMC Denali's coming out, and you know, they've got 22-inch wheels on them, but then, you know, the brake rotor's just this tiny little guy in there. It's like, well, oh come on, that just it doesn't look right.
Yeah, there are some things I do miss about my GTI. It's just a fun little car to kind of bop
It's
in and out of
chuckable.
traffic. Yeah, exactly. It is chuckable.
You're not worried about it. You know, this engine, they've been, you know, it's been put to the limits over the years. You know, the Gen 4 is obviously a little bit newer, but I want to say the Gen 4 has been in Audi since 2019, 2020.
Okay.
You know, and the fact you can get this kind of power out of the stock turbo and everything it was just so impressive to me. You look, you know, even tuned WRXs, you know, a 2.4 liter, you know, they're maybe pushing this power. So I think they
Sure.
just have less turbo. But this, the injectors, the turbo, everything, it can handle mid 300s.
That's awesome. Wow.
Like I said, downpipe and intake, I think gets close to 400. Still don't have to do injectors or turbo.
That's impressive. Yeah, maybe just a stage 2 clutch or something, and you're in business.
Yeah, anything beyond this, I'd want to upgrade clutch.
And this has a limited slip diff, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
EDIF. Every Mark 8 has an EDIF.
All right, awesome.
And, you know, I got the joke. I was on Reddit. I got the joke. They're like, oh, how's that wheel hop going with the 2? And I was like, I don't have any wheel hop.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I put down power just fine.
Yeah. And that could be due to the 17s, too. You got a little more sidewall to accommodate there.
I did get more wheel hop, I think, with the 18s. You know, I did wheels and tires first, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much better already. And then I did the tune, and it's like, this is the car. You know, this is what I wanted.
You can't really work with more than 300 horsepower in front-wheel drive without, you know, the differential helps a lot. That was a big complaint that I had with my Mark 6 was that open diff. It just, you know, even with the torque vectoring differential, the brake system that car had. It was okay, but it's still, you could feel it working up there, and it just didn't quite let you rock it out of the corners like this does.
Oh yeah. Second gear is just great. The fact that it breaks loose at the top of second. Every time I do that, I'll have traction off. It's like, oh, yep, broken loose again.
That's great. Cool. All right, Kyle. Well, hey, thanks for bringing your car out. This was a pleasure. It was a lot of fun to drive, and I'm glad you reached out because you've seen some of my other Volkswagen videos. I've never driven a GTI S before. I've never seen the kind of the base infotainment.
Better.
I like it. Yeah, it's fine. It's got a volume knob. It's a little bit more responsive, and that makes a big difference compared to the larger screen.
Yeah.
You don't need that big of a screen in this. You just need something that works and that's functional. I would have loved if Volkswagen gave us physical climate controls, but in this you can kind of set it and forget it. The rest of this car feels fantastic. I think all the little modifications you've done here have really added up to a nicer driving experience, and yeah, well done.
I hope we've left a better impression.
Absolutely.
Every Mark 8 video I watched, I was like, oh man, why don't they give them the S trim, the best trim?
Yeah, that's what I've heard. There was, I think a couple years ago, there was one floating around. Car and Driver might have had a long-termer, but yeah, I have never driven an S trim GTI.
For me personally, hardtop,
yeah,
better infotainment.
No, it's nice.
And the fact that you get all those standard features.
And for the money, this makes so much more sense than spending close to 40 grand
over
for
40
a GTI
these days.
Yeah, it's wild.
An Autobahn should be probably about 42, I think.
Sure. That's kind of what the GTI is all about. It's about having a good value proposition at an affordable price, and fun to drive. Kind of that do-it-all daily driver for the enthusiast, and it gives you some wiggle room to modify and change things and kind of make it yours too.
Do you want me to rev it for you and you can...
Sure, why not? Hop in.
It doesn't do the pops and burbles.
At idle?
At idle, I don't think, when you're sitting, but...
Sounds good. And I don't know what Volkswagen does, but somehow these exhaust tips just manage to stay perfectly clean no matter how you drive this car. Do you ever get soot on your exhaust tips?
Absolutely.
Really?
I used Barkeeper's Friend.
Okay.
I did that last night.
However, we just spent a week in a Golf R driving the snot out of it, and the exhaust tips look like this after a week of hard drive. I was completely dumbfounded as to how there's no soot on the exhaust after a lot of hard driving.
I definitely had it. It was bad. Yeah, Barkeeper's Friend. I did that last night. Took 10, 15
minutes. Oh yeah, it looks great.
Shiny again.
But I mean,
they look almost new.
We even went for a pretty good drive just now, and they still look perfectly clean, whereas in just about every other car, you'd have black stuff down here. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys, that's going to be a wrap for this one. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks to Kyle for bringing his car out today, getting in touch. Yeah, we've had a good time in this GTI. Proper setup, and definitely some recommendable mods here. We'll throw everything in the description so you guys can check it out. But that's a video. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Appreciate you watching.